Margaret Meg March, the eldest of the March sisters in Little Women, often appears to be the most traditional among the four. She is gentle, responsible, and nurturing, seemingly destined for domestic life from the novel's earliest pages. While she may lack Jo's rebellious fire, Amy's ambition, or Beth's saint-like serenity, Meg's character is far from simplistic. Through Meg, Louisa May Alcott explores themes of womanhood, class aspiration, marriage, and the quiet strength found in choosing love and simplicity over status and glamour. Meg's journey speaks to the heart of the novel's moral vision, that fulfillment is not found through external success, but through integrity, growth, and the courage to be content with one's chosen life. Role in the narrative. Meg serves as a maternal figure within the March household, often acting as a surrogate mother when Marmee is away. As the oldest sibling, she feels the weight of responsibility more heavily than her sisters, striving to set a good example and care for the younger girls. Her storyline follows a classic arc, from youthful dreams of wealth and luxury to mature acceptance of love, poverty, and the challenges of marriage. Early in the novel, Meg is portrayed as somewhat vain and desirous of high society. She longs for silks and jewels, a handsome husband, and a life free from financial worry, natural aspirations for a girl raised with the memory of gentility but living in genteel poverty. Her trip to the Moffats' home, where she is dressed up and displayed as a potential socialite, serves as a turning point. There, she begins to understand the superficiality and manipulations of elite society, and her experience sows the seeds of her eventual transformation. Meg's marriage to John Brooke, Laurie's humble tutor, is central to her narrative role. It is not a dramatic love story filled with grand gestures, but a portrait of real, imperfect love that matures over time. Through their courtship and marriage, Alcott offers one of the first realistic depictions of domestic life in American literature, complete with financial strain, household arguments, and personal sacrifices. Meg's trials in married life underscore her growth from a romantic idealist to a resilient partner and mother. Symbolic significance. Meg represents domestic virtue, feminine responsibility, and emotional steadiness. She is the sister who most closely aligns with 19th century ideals of womanhood, modest, gentle, and devoted to home and family. Yet, rather than simply reinforcing these ideals, Alcott complicates them through Meg's lived experiences. Meg's challenges and small victories suggest that domesticity is not passive submission, but a domain that requires strength, patience, and wisdom. Meg also symbolizes the tension between appearance and reality, especially concerning class and wealth. Her early desire to reclaim the lifestyle her family once had, attending balls, wearing expensive clothes, and marrying well, represents a very human impulse. But Alcott uses Meg to reveal the dangers of illusion and vanity. When Meg impulsively buys expensive fabric to impress others, it becomes a moment of quiet shame and moral reflection. Similarly, her early frustration with domestic drudgery and poverty in marriage gives way to a mature appreciation for love, family, and shared purpose. In this way, Meg becomes a symbol of choice. She is not forced into marriage or domestic life, she chooses it. She could have married for money or pursued a life of social climbing, but she rejects those paths in favor of one that brings deeper, if less glamorous, rewards. Broader implications. Meg's storyline has broader implications for how we think about feminine agency, class mobility, and marriage in literature and society. In a time when many heroines were depicted as either rebels or damsels, Meg offers a third path, one of quiet but conscious self-determination. Her life does not end in grand achievements or dramatic defiance, but in a lived philosophy of love, humility, and endurance. One of the key themes Meg's arc illuminates is the dignity of domestic labor. Too often overlooked or idealized in literature, homemaking is shown in Little Women as a domain of real work and real emotional stakes. When Meg struggles to manage her household or feels overwhelmed by childcare, Alcott does not diminish her frustration. Instead, she validates the complexity of domestic life and the personal growth it demands. Meg also reflects middle-class anxieties about money, class, and respectability in post-Civil War America. Raised in a family that once had social standing, Meg feels acutely the loss of privilege. Her marriage to John Brooke, a man of limited means, requires her to adjust her expectations and reconcile her dreams with economic reality. But in doing so, Meg evolves into a figure of emotional maturity. She discovers that love is not made less by struggle, but more profound through it. Furthermore, Meg's journey speaks to the modern feminist conversation about the legitimacy of traditional roles. In choosing to become a wife and mother, Meg does not surrender her identity. She shapes it. Alcott presents Meg not as a cautionary tale or an idealized figure, but as a woman who wrestles with her choices, fails sometimes, learns, and grows. In doing so, Meg's story defends the value of domestic life while refusing to romanticize it. Her role as a foil to Jo is also significant. Where Jo is restless, bold, and resistant to traditional gender roles, Meg embraces them, but with open eyes. Their contrasting paths allow Alcott to explore different forms of female fulfillment without placing one above the other. Meg's quiet life is not lesser than Jo's literary career. It is simply different and equally valid. Conclusion. Meg March may not be the most dramatic or outspoken of the March sisters, but she is a pillar of emotional and moral strength in Little Women. Through her character, Louisa May Alcott explores the challenges and rewards of domestic life, the complexities of class and aspiration, and the power of quiet resilience. Meg's story invites readers to consider what it means to live a good life, not necessarily a famous or daring one, but a life built on love, integrity, and thoughtful choice. Meg stands for the values of care, responsibility, and contentment, yet she is far from static. She learns, falters, and grows into her role as a wife and mother, showing that even the most traditional paths require courage and wisdom. Her journey challenges modern readers to appreciate the nuanced power of domesticity and to recognize the agency that exists within the everyday. In a novel rich with varied portrayals of womanhood, Meg's character affirms that strength takes many forms, and that sometimes the greatest strength lies in choosing a path not for applause, but for love.